Hey there, boys and girls. So, how you doing? We are in the middle of reviewing for our Unit 11 test, which will be, I think, this Thursday for you guys. And so I had you guys do pages 579 to 582 in your science book. And so I'm going to go over all the questions and get you going for this review. And let's get this going.
Okay, so starting out with the vocabulary, it starts out with number one, an area that gets very little precipitation is classified as a desert. Number two, animals that have white fur often live in cold, snowy habitats. And number three, an organism's adaptations help it survive in its environment. Okay. Number four, catfish can live in rivers and lakes where the water is not very clear. The following picture shows a catfish. You can see all the different things, parts of the anatomy of a catfish. The rest of the question says, what do the barbels, these things right here, what do they most likely help the catfish do in muddy water? So if it's muddy, it's going to be really hard to see things, but those barbels can help them sense the bottom of the river to find food. Number five, rivers and streams are sometimes fast moving. What adaptations would help plants live in swiftly moving water? The thing about living in a river is that the water is always moving in one direction, and fish need to be able to swim against that current constantly, or else they'll just end up getting washed away downstream. So the correct answer here, and with plants, they are going to have to be able to have flexible stems and the ability to cling onto rocks so they also don't get washed away downstream. Number six, the picture shows an alligator that lives in the Florida Everglades. What advantage does this swimming position give the alligator? Well, if you notice here, its eyes and its nostrils are all right on top of its head, so that the top of its head is the only thing that needs to be above water. So the correct answer here is it keeps it mostly hidden underwater, but the alligator can still see prey and also breathe. Number seven, sharks can smell very small amounts of substances in ocean water. What does this adaptation most likely let sharks do? Well, we know that sharks are predators, and if they can smell very small amounts of blood or food waste or anything like that, that will let them know that there is food not far away, okay? Or that is far away. All right, next page, number eight. Compared to other marine habitats, very few kinds of fish live on the ocean floor. To live in the deep ocean, what condition do fish need to be adapted to? Well, if you are in the deep parts of the ocean, all that water is above you and it weighs down on top of you. So they have to be adapted for high water pressure that's above them. Their bodies can withstand that type of pressure. Number nine, the following picture shows a mother deer and her baby called a fawn. The markings on the fawn's fur are different from the markings on the mother. They're spotted, if you noticed. How does this pattern in the fawn's fur help it survive? Well, um, a fawn is typically prey for other predators in the area, and so it needs to be able to hide as best as it can. So H, it helps the fawn blend in with the forest background. Number 10, Bryce drew the picture on the right. It is a tree commonly found in tropical forests. How do buttress roots help this tree survive in an ecosystem in which it lives? Well, there's a lot of things you got to kind of think about here. These are called buttress roots, and they kind of get wider as they get closer to the ground. What that does is it helps the tree from staying, to stay upright. And it's important because this environment, the tropical rainforest, has a lot of rain. So when you get too much rain, the ground tends to give way, and so these roots help the tree from tipping over. Okay? Number 11. A pitcher plant is a carnivorous plant. We know that carnivorous means it eats meat or other animals. A plant that traps and digests insects. The American pitcher plant lives in bogs. Insects that fall into the slippery opening of the pitcher plant get trapped inside. The plant digests the insect and absorbs the nutrients. Which of the following is a characteristic of bogs that pitcher plants have adapted for? Well, a bog is the soil in a bog is going to not have a lot of nutrients. So, choice G here, bog soil is low in nutrients so some plants are adapted to digest insects. Another insect you might see in a bog would be a Venus flytrap. All right, number 12. Camouflage is a coloring or texture that helps a living thing blend in with its environment, which describes an animal with camouflage that is best suited for a grassland ecosystem. So, thinking about a grassland, it's going to have a lot of tall grass, and so um, this kind of camouflage, light brown because it blends in with the color of the grass, and vertical stripes. Vertical means up and down. So, like a zebra would be good, or any kind of animal that has stripes that go up and down, help it blend in with its environment. Number 13, a ptarmigan. P is silent in that question. I have a feeling a lot of people got this one wrong because they don't really tell you much about the ptarmigan, but it is a bird that walks on the ground. Ptarmigan feet are completely covered with tiny white feathers. How are ptarmigan's feet adapted to living in its environment? Well, I wish they kind of told you what environment they lived in. But they live in the northern polar regions in the tundra. Tundra um, a is the land covering in the polar region. Knowing that it's polar, it's going to have very cold ground, and so F, the feathers help keep its feet warm in the cold. And you might have gathered that just for the whole idea of having some sort of covering over the feet. Now, number 14, there is a typo in this one, and I apologize for that, but I remember this from last year when we went over this question. The diagram below shows how an antlion catches its food. So, one, the antlion builds a pit in the sand. So here's the pit. Okay. Um, it waits inside the pit. And here's where the typo is. It says the antlion falls into the pit. What they mean is an ant. So this ant fell into the pit. And fourth, the antlion eats the ant. Okay? So you may have been kind of confused by that third step there. But anyway, what does the diagram suggest about the antlion? And what it does here is the antlion has behavioral adaptations for its environment. And in this unit, you have to know the difference between physical adaptations and behavioral adaptations. And this one kind of shows you what a behavioral adaptation is. It's something the animal does. It's behavior, if you will. So when they talk about something that an animal does, um, then they're talking behavioral. Physical adaptations are like the physical characteristics of the animal, like a giraffe's long neck or a bear's sharp claws. So important to know that difference. Here we go again with behavioral adaptation. Which behavioral adaptation below allows the alligator to control its body temperature? So again, what does it do as an adaptation? And the correct answer is B. The alligator basks in the sunlight. That means it kind of sits out in the sun. That's something it does to help it live, to better survive. Number 16, the covering of the rough green snake allows it to blend in with its background. Make a claim about what type of adaptation the rough green snake's color is. Support your claim with evidence and explain your reasoning. Well, we were just talking about behavioral and physical adaptation. So, is the coloring of a snake a physical adaptation or is it a behavioral adaptation? It is physical. So it is a physical adaptation. And support, make a claim about what type of adaptation its color is, and support your claim with evidence and explain your reasoning. So that adaptation, that physical adaptation, is the green color, and it allows it to camouflage. So if you said anything about it camouflaging, you're good. Number 17, many desert plants, such as, wow, Welwitschia, have long central roots called taproots. Taproots grow deep underground to reach groundwater. Explain how a taproot is useful adaptation for a desert ecosystem. So when you think of deserts, you think hot and dry, not a lot of rain. So a this plant here, I don't even really know how to say it right. Welwitschia has a long root that reaches deep down to get groundwater. So that's how it adapts to its desert environment. Um, its taproot allows its taproot allows it to get watered underground. Last question. It is estimated that fewer than 100 Florida panthers are still living. Florida now has a protected habitat for the panther. Make a claim about how protecting this habitat will affect the panther population. provide reasoning in support of your claim. So, okay, it's a protected habitat. That means nobody can go there and build there. Nobody can go there and um, dump trash or do anything that's harmful to that environment. In fact, people can't even, in some places, can't even visit that area. So, what that means is that they're going to leave this natural area for the Florida panther. If we leave this region, this area protected for the Florida panther, how do you think it will do? Well, it's going to do better. So hopefully, we got to talk about the population here. The population will increase, and at least, hopefully, not decrease. Okay, and the reasoning is that the region is protected, and its habitat will be preserved in the best possible way so that the Florida panther can survive. All right. And I tell you, anytime I think about Florida panthers, it makes me just so sad. They're just beautiful animals, and I think we talked about this before in another video. There's only like about 200, 300 Florida panthers in Florida. That's not a lot. And hopefully, they never become extinct. Anyway, so you're done with this review. Today, I want you to go on to Edsby, and I want you to do the review activity for, it's called Unit 11, Plant and Animal Adaptations Review. And please, please do this activity more than once. Um, I've allowed you actually 5 times you could do this activity. They are questions that are very targeted towards the questions that will be on the test. So, and then Thursday, you'll take your unit test on the Ed app. So that's it. Then I have, after this week, I have a special project for you guys. And I hope you enjoy it. But more about that next week. Okay? For now, I'm going to sign off and see you guys later.